This right here is Pastor David Ibiyeomie. He believes that Jesus did not like, he was not a fan of broke people.
If I tell something, it will baffle you. Jesus never visited any poor person in the house. Read your Bible. That means he hates poverty. Check. He visited Lazarus. They were not poor, they were giving him food. He visited a sinner called Zacchaeus, who was rich. Tell me one poor man Jesus entered his house. He hates poverty, that's the meaning. He hates people who are poor. He died for you not to be poor. So how can you now come into a church, have that kind of mentality? You can come poor, but you're not permitted to remain poor. Nothing wrong you coming to Christ as a poor man, but it's wrong for you to remain what? It is wrong.
Now I will tell you why I wanted to mix this particular subject matter of David Ibiyeomie alongside a certain recent story that's been happening right now as I'm speaking in Nigeria about a company by the name of CBEX or whatever you may call it, CBEX or whatever you call it. This is actually a company that was structured like M, and recently it has collapsed. And I want to take this particular subject of people who lost millions in the scheme. The scheme was kind of like M.
Me, Bola, $200. So I collect all my friends' money, all the money.
Okay, we heard that you made money in Libya.
Yes, I go to Libya to work. No work, fighting. See my hand, fighting, everything. Everything for Libya. I come back. My neighbor told me if the program is on stand now, on ground now, if you do it, you go help me. Then I should go and find the money.
People right now as we are speaking are crying on. And guess what is it that causes it? It's people like David Ibiyeomie who think, what's his name? Ibiyeomie. Yes. It's people like him who keep drumming the message that sounds exactly the same as the slave queens. While you see this statement that he makes here, I want you to notice.
He hates poverty, that's the meaning. He hates people who are poor. He hates people who are poor. He hates people who are poor.
I wanted to bundle it with this story of what they call it CBEX. It's some scheme that recently was in Nigeria, and it has schemed a lot of people of money. It was kind of like structured like M. They were promised that this thing will triple their monies, double their monies, or whatever it was, over a certain period of time. And they swindle people. Now, why is it that people keep falling for these things? Is because shortcuts sound easier for a lot of people. The last thing you want is to have a pastor on Sunday who's supposed to be building and equipping your faith, weakening you and telling you you should be doing everything to get rich, and valuing you and your humanity on the basis of money. That's the worst thing that a person who claims to be a pastor could even say. It's the worst. Now, I want to state this here. I'm going to tell you what I think he would come out and say. If he was to come back and respond, I'm telling you now, he's going to come out and he says he's been preaching for 20 years. That's it. People like that, they don't ever apologize. They feel like doing this for 10 years or 15 years or 20 years justifies whatever nonsense comes out of their mouth. You'll never correct it. And you see, because the rest of us, we are not as rich as him, he will feel like, no, he's justified by saying that. He's given $1 million before, he said so. So people fall for these kind of schemes because they're trying to be at the status of what he is saying, worthy of Jesus. Now, not necessarily that's what thinking, but acceptance. Acceptance can literally create an environment where a person reacts irrationally. But the last thing you need is a person who claims, not a pastor, a person who claims to be a pastor standing on the pulpit claiming that he knows for a fact that Jesus hates the poor, while he's completely factually wrong. To say you have no human value outside of money, that is the sound of a devilish message. To the core, you see, you couldn't convince me otherwise. If somebody won't say it, let me tell you, That right there is a moment where we need to say, devil, get thee behind me. Joel Ogebe as well had something to say concerning this, and I will. First of all, he is thinking of Jesus as he was using status to grade people. But if you actually even look at Jesus' his message, it will be contrary. The Beatitudes, blessed are the pure, for they shall be, blessed are those that mourn. He didn't say blessed are the ones who are happy because they have money. No, blessed are the poor because they shall be comforted. But the ones who are contrary, he said what? Now, even if you read in other places, the story of Lazarus and the rich man, guess what? That story was actually tackling a certain belief system that the Jews held, which was that money was actually a sign of God's approval. It meant that you were approved by God that you had money. So when he told that story, it threw them off. Because now, the one who's rich is the one who's in hell. But the one who's poor, so when you hear stories like that, does it sound like what this man is teaching? So this is why I say, he didn't even try to get it right. He says Jesus didn't even go to the house of a thing. Now, there was a moment when Jesus was at the house of Peter. Matthew chapter number 8, verse number 14 to 15. He was a thingy. Peter was a fisherman. He wasn't rich. As a matter of fact, there was a period where he was not operating his business. Now, someone would say, no, for him to have left, those are people that are looking at the mechanics of a business in the current state to say, no, you see, it must have been a rich business. But by what you see in the book of Acts, Peter does not look like a very rich person. By what you see in the book of Acts, he does not look, he wasn't broke or dead broke or destitute, but it doesn't look like things. Zacchaeus in Luke chapter number 19, he goes to a rich person who denounces his wealth. So if Jesus hates poor people, why is it that in that particular context there, you do not see that very same tone? You have a rich person denouncing his wealth. As a matter of fact, he even vows, I will give way more. I would rather be impoverished to gain. Even Paul says, I would count all worthless for the gain of Christ. So say, this is why we are saying what you said there was devilish. When they came to him asking for a prestigious position in Jesus' ministry or in the kingdom, Jesus says it's not for me to give those positions because the kingdom is not about that. He says, blessed is the one that serves. You see, even he himself, he says, the Son of Man is not here to be served, but he's here to serve. So already the idea that David Ibiyeomie is saying here, it's absolutely ridiculous to the Bible. It questions what, so, this is the thing. A lot of these pastors, they preach for so long, they stand on the pulpit for so long, they preach whatever ideas they align themselves with for so long that they don't even realize like it's ridiculous. There's no way you can find what he's saying in the Bible. Joel as well came in and commented concerning this particular situation. He says, I heard a recent statement that troubled my spirit. Jesus hated poverty. That's why he never visited the house of a poor person. It says such a claim is not only factually wrong, but it is also a dangerous distortion of the heart of the gospel. Big point. It's a distortion. You're actually making the Bible, you're focusing the Bible on something that it's not even about. Why? Because you like that stuff. You're into that stuff. And so they make the Bible about that. That's why I say he should be ashamed of saying something like that. He should be absolutely ashamed of saying something like that about the gospel that he claims. He stands on the pulpit and says, and the reason why I want to mention this particular thing, pastors like David Ibiyeomie, because they are used to not being opposed at all. When we come out and we speak concerning this thing and we oppose it, all they can tell you is, I've preached for 20 years. We didn't ask. Error is error. I've been preaching for 20 years. I've read the Bible more than you. We didn't ask. Error is error. You correct, we keep it moving. You don't correct, we keep looking at you. We mark you and avoid you. I'm telling you right now, if he responds to this thing, all he's going to come out and say is, I've been preaching for 20 years. I've been preaching for so. We didn't ask. When you make error, you correct. If you don't correct, we know. We mark you and avoid you. Personally, I've marked him and avoided him for this long. Why? Because people like him, for me, they serve their own agendas. Listen, money is not the gospel. Money is not the gospel. It is blinding most of you. It's blinding most of you. The comfort you go home to has deceived many people to think that they don't need. So the gospel now is defined by money. Mark what I'm saying now. If you hear him responding, that's all he's going to say. Why? Because there's no defense you can give for something like that. All he will say, no, I've been preaching for more than these people. I've been corrected by kids. Say, you missed the point. Error is error. You distort the gospel. And we must listen to you because you preach for 20 years. Congratulations. It's the Reality Show, the daily Christian commentary videos. If it's the first time over here, be sure check out the other videos that are down in the pinned comments, and I'll see you on a later on video. Be careful with these people. So you think FNB, the notes that FNB, the notes that all these banks carry, you think that's equal to Jesus' message? To a point where he wouldn't preach that message in